among the many issues that have tongues wagging is that the president has continued with his onslaught on the judiciary. Of course, it has been more than a week since the president started talking tough in regards to what he terms as corruption in Kenya's judicial system, saying that there are few judges in the judiciary who are used to being grabbed, to the point of saying that the previous regime, or alleging that the previous regime, which by the way he was part of, had some sort of funds set aside to bribe the judiciary, something that he says he will not allow to happen during his reign as the head of state. This comes as various quarters continue to come to the defense of the judiciary, of course, as President Ruto reigns in. Now, this is one of the key talking points in the country this week, even as the president continues to launch various projects. But the most contentious issue, which has again brought a lot of discontentment in the executive, is the affordable housing program. Now, the president has been launching the affordable housing program as recent as yesterday in Lookuptv County, and the day before yesterday, that was on Tuesday, in Uasin Gishu County, which is his home turf. Now, the president argues that this is, of course, a plan or a program that will create employment for millions of youth across the country, something that he says is what he promised during the campaign period, and it is something which is also in his manifesto, and he will do whatever he will or whatever has to be done to ensure that it is implemented. Now, away from that, Raila Odinga, of course, is Azimio team plotting or looking at the forming of another political vehicle, I'd say, which he might use or he will use in the run-up to the 2027 general election. That, of course, is something that was sort of hinted by minority leader in the National Assembly, one Opiyo Wandayi. Now, only time will tell whether or how long Azimio One Kenya will last, even as there have been rumors of some sort of lack of unity in the Azimio team, despite one Martha Karua and Raila Odinga insisting that they're working as a team. Remember the different factions, and most or top on the list of one of the things that brought some sort of disruptions, if you want to call it that, in the Azimio team is the National Dialogue Committee report, a report that one Raila Amolo Odinga, the former Prime Minister, says he fully supports the proposals made by, or recommendations made by, the National Dialogue Committee. He says most of the proposals that his side did table were adopted, something that makes him, of course, support that particular report. Now, on that note, we will be jumping straight away to the newspaper review, but before that, remember you can watch this particular show live on our Facebook page at Lookuptv. Of course, do let us know what do you make of the president's continued onslaught on the judiciary. Now, we'll be coming back to you in a moment with the newspaper review. Don't go away. Well, thank you very much for staying with us. It is time for the newspaper review. And of course, we'll be starting with the Standard this morning. And the top story on the Standard is regarding the KCSE results that were released early in the week, of course on Monday, by the Education Cabinet Secretary, one Ezekiel Mashogi, in Eldoret at Moi Girls Eldoret in Uasin Gishu County. And they say, where did these 175,000 candidates or students go to? Now, in case you're wondering, is that over 1 million, just to be correct, is that 1,075,201 students were admitted to Form 1 in 2020. Now, 4 years later, only 899,453 students did sit for their KCSE exams in December or November through to December of 2023. Now, the big question is, where did the 175,748 students go to during that 4-year period? Very concerning question. And they say in 2020, over 1 million students joined Form 1 under former President Uhuru's administration, with the 100% transition from primary to secondary school policy taking place. Now, but the just released KCSE examinations results shows that only slightly under 900,000 students sat for their tests. Where did the 175,000 go over the 4 years? Now, you don't attribute this maybe to, school dropout, something that Education Cabinet Secretary One Ezekiel Machogu downplays. And here you can see, they say Education Minister downplays school dropout rate, says measures in place to ensure that the 100% transition is successful. Now, the policy here, and they say, is former president's administration, that is Uhuru Kenyatta, former president, of course, initiated the 100% transition policy for students from primary to secondary school. But it as much as the government has been, of course, championing since former President Uhuru Kenyatta's reign for the 100% transition from primary school to secondary schools, what then does the government do in regards to following up the progressing of these students right from Form 1 to Form 4 in order to avert such cases? Because it now means 175,000 students who joined Form 1 in 2020 probably dropped out of school for one reason or the other. Now, that again goes a long way to show that probably, if that is indeed the case, the issue of students dropping out, some probably would say because of financial constraints. Could be one genuine reason, as even the economic situation in the country continues to deteriorate a little bit. Now, what can the ministry do? And this is one thing that the ministry led by one Ezekiel Machogu, in conjunction with probably the teachers union and all stakeholders in the country and the national and county governments can do to ensure that students finish their studies. That could mean probably, supporting these students. Of course, there's a CDF Keitany that offers bursaries to a number of students, but it, generally does not cater for all the students. So those are just some of the questions that are, raising eyebrows in the country regarding the, whereabouts of these 175,748 students who did not sit for their KCSE exams in 2023 despite joining high school in 2020. That is one story that we'll be trying to follow up for you across the country, just to understand where did things go wrong for these over 175,000 students. Now, on the top left, we have blame cash crunch. Now, Treasury CS, that is Professor Njuguna Ndung'u, tells MPs own CDF delays. Blames, they say, rather he says there's shortage of funds. Now, this is one place that the legislature has been at loggerheads with the judiciary. Why? Because the CDF funds have been delayed. Around 63 billion shillings are meant for the CDF Keitany. Now, MPs argue that the delaying of these particular funds for the CDF Keitany has hindered a lot of things. Top among them, now that relates to this particular story down here on matters education, because quite a percentage, or a huge chunk of the CDF funds are directed to bursaries for needy students. Now that means that needy students across the country are at risk of probably being turned away from school because of the delayed disbursement of the CDF funds. That is what members of parliament do allege. But the CS says there is some sort of, shortage of cash within the government. But the MPs are accusing the Treasury CS, one Professor Njuguna Ndung'u, of course, using CDF funds or diverting CDF funds, and of course, channeling them to different ministries, something that the Treasury CS has refuted. Now, that is one, of course, big story that we'll be following up for you throughout this week, even as we get to the end of the week, as students continue to report to school, as well for once plan to join their respective schools beginning on the 15th of January 2024, which is on Monday. Now, away from that, something that I alluded to in my introduction this morning is that on the bottom right, they say ODM shakes up elections body, and they go ahead to say Raila Odinga's party disbands its National Election Board, hands over the role to a two-tier election management system at the county and national levels. Now, that is in a bid by the ODM party, a very powerful party in the country, to ensure that they have a change in strategy in regards to how they conduct the elections within the party. ODM, of course, has been on the spot not once, not twice. Have been accused by various parties, rival parties, members of rival parties, including the United Democratic Alliance, which is the ruling party, on matters democracy, because they say, legislators from the United Democratic Alliance do say that ODM is synonymous with handing direct nominations to what they refer to as party loyalists. Now, of course, Raila Odinga is trying to ensure that there's a change in tune, or there's a change in strategy in the run-up to the general elections in 2027. Of course, it's a bit absurd that 4 years to go, we already are talking about 2027 elections, but that is what happens here in the country. And of course, that comes, Raila Odinga did, of course, hold a meeting with his former buddy, I'd say, who called it quits in the run-up to general elections last year. In 2022, beg your pardon, that is one Jimmy Wanjigi. They did, of course, hold a meeting, and no one really knows what was the agenda of that particular meeting. But this comes at a time when Raila Odinga hinted at him and Kenyans going back to the streets, if at all the demands they've made as the opposition are not granted or are not met or fulfilled by the President William Ruto-led administration. Finally, on this standard this morning, they say, behold, our fallen academic giants. They say in their heyday, they were the academic powerhouses that ruled the country with exemplary performances that attracted praise. Today, these schools have drifted off the top of the table and are now fighting for a comeback. This is a story that I alluded to yesterday. And the traditional powerhouses, the alliances of this country, the Lananas of this country, are sort of, dropped or dipped a little bit in terms of their performances in the national examinations. But their new faces who have, knitted up the list of best performing schools in the country, like I alluded to yesterday again, the likes of Kapsabet Boys, Moore High School, Kabrak, and there's need for concern. But again, it shows the competence that has, that is now taking place, or is the case across the education sector of schools in the country, because we've seen even day schools, and there are particular day schools from Embu and Kirinyaga counties that posted really impressive results in the just released KCSE exams. And of course, those results now give the traditional powerhouses something to ponder about. Now, on that note, we wrap up the Standard this particular morning. Of course, you can get a copy of the Standard and just be able to go through all the stories making headlines in the Standard this morning. We, of course, now jump straight away to the Daily Nation on this 11th day of January 2023. And of course, the biggest story is more pain as NSSF rates set to go up. If you're an employee, well, this is a story that is very, very interesting to you. And they say confusion as the first year of implementing the NSSF Act 2013 lapses this month. The Ministry of Labour and the fund are yet to inform employers and employees about about how, beg your pardon, the next level of new hire deductions is set to be arrived at in the graduated plan that will eventually take away 6% of workers' salary. That is a story on page 7. Just so you know, they say 6% is, of course, 6 is the percentage of workers' salary that will be deducted to go into the National Social Security Fund after full implementation. Now, it is 12%, only that the employee contributes 6% and the employer, again, contributes 6%. Of course, the maximum contribution, I believe, has been kept at around 2,000, just a little over 2,100. I believe it is 2,160. Initially, the maximum amount of deduction, or the maximum deduction, has been in the region of around 1,440. And of course, this is not something that most Kenyan employees will be smiling at, because that means, despite the country's economic situation, you will end up parting with more money this year. Also good news in January of 2024. Now, away from that, Raila to craft new coalition for 2027 race, says Wandai. They say National Assembly Minority Leader Opiyo Wandai, in a wide-ranging interview, reveals what his boss, Azimio leader Raila Odinga, is planning ahead of the next general elections. That is a story on page 4 and page 5 of the Daily Nation this particular morning. And we're going to say, this is something that has been happening over the years, because since the run up to the, to the general elections in 2013, there was a coalition. In the run up to 2017, it was revamped. Then another coalition was formed. In the run up to 2022, that again was done away with. Another coalition was formed, the Azimio one from Kore, I believe. And then now, after the 2022 general elections, they're talking about crafting a new political vehicle or coalition that they hope will steer them into power, or will, of course, enable them to unseat sitting President Dr. William Ruto come 2027. And this comes in the backdrop of one Kalonzo Musyoka saying, who is the Wiper Party leader, saying that he will be on the ballot in 2027 regardless of what happens. Now that, of course, throws a spanner into the works in regards to will Raila Odinga back Kalonzo Musyoka in 2027, or will Kalonzo, of course, not stay true to his word and support Raila Odinga, or will both of them go to the ballot and face each other on the ballot in a bid to, like I said, unseat President William Ruto. Interesting times, they say, but of course, like I always say, time will tell whether that will be a successful venture for the opposition. Now, on the far right, on your bottom, is that they say governors fight state over ECDE takeover. They say governors will boycott the Intergovernmental Relations Technical Committee meeting scheduled for Tuesday next week to discuss the implementation of the recommendations made by the Presidential Working Party on, of course, education reforms on how best to manage this sector. This move, this move, the governor said, is in protest against proposals to have the management of over 30,400 ECDE centers under the national government. Of course, this is another bone of contention that will be, of course, pitting the governors or the devolved units against the national government in a bid to, of course, ensure that there are changes that are made in the education sector in regards to the recommendations made by the presidential party on education reforms. Before we wrap up with the Daily Nation this particular morning, is that they say here, Mahrez reveals his recipe for success. Algerian captain and former Manchester City star Riyad Mahrez believes he knows the recipe for winning the African Cup of Nations through preparations, good luck, and experience. Remember, the African Cup of Nations kickstarts this weekend in Côte d'Ivoire, or Ivory Coast, if you'd call it that. which will see the African teams gun for glory. Well, time will tell whether indeed Algeria will use what Real Madrid says in terms of experience and proper preparation, and as well good luck, because in football sometimes it's always about luck. Now that wraps up our newspaper review this particular morning. Just before we wrap the newspaper review up, they say on the bottom left, Trump warns of bedlam in US if he is put on trial. Judges worry of his claim to presidential immunity. Remember, the United States will be going into elections this particular year. And of course, our former president, that is Donald J. Trump, is a man, you don't want to say, under a little bit of siege, because a court had ruled that he should not be on the ballot. That is in regards to the insurrection that happened the last time elections were held. That was on 2020. Of course, he claims that sitting president Joe Biden is the one trying to make sure that he will not be on the ballot, because Trump says that Biden knows he will be losing the elections. Now that wraps up our newspaper review this particular morning. We'll be going on a short break, then we'll be coming back with the news items making headlines this morning. Don't go away. Well, many thanks for staying with us. It is time for the stories making headlines this particular morning here on the Morning Draft. This is a show, by the way, that I said you can watch live on our Facebook page at Lookuptv. Now we kickstart the bulletin, and President William Ruto has sustained his attack on the judiciary, blaming his arm of government, or this arm of government, over deeply embedded corruption. Now, while launching affordable housing project in Nanyuki, Laikipia County, the head of state has reiterated that he will not allow judiciary or any other independent arm of government to frustrate his development plan. He has vowed to rein in heavily on corrupt judges and individuals who are hell-bent on derailing his key projects. Henry Tende tells us more.
Laikipia County has become the latest beneficiary of the affordable housing, as President William Ruto today launched the Nanyuki housing project, expected to guarantee area residents decent houses. It is during this launch that President Ruto once again launched attack on judiciary, blaming it of high levels of corruption and questionable rulings.
Nani ajui hapa kuna ufisadi inaendelea mahakamani? Sijui kama tunaelewana. Nimesema ufisadi anywhere. Ufisadi in the executive, ufisadi kule kwenye legislature, ufisadi kule kwenye mahakama, lazima tupigane nayo. We are going to deal with vested interest that is sabotaging our progress, and we are going to eliminate corruption, whether it is in the judiciary, whether it is in the executive, or in the legislature.
The President's wrath was also directed towards certain individuals, leaders and institutions that are frustrating the housing project through various cases in court. He has termed those against the project selfish, who are unhappy with the progress the country is making.
Nyinyi ambao mnataka kuzuia hawa vijana ya watu wengine wapate ajira hapa, ambao mnataka kuzuia mambo ya housing, nyinyi hamujawahi kulala njaa hata siku moja, hamujui. Nyinyi hamujawahi kutembea barabarani mkapiga lami mpaka kiatu ikakatika ukitafuta kazi, hamujui. Ni kweli ama si kweli? Nyinyi hamujui umaskini ni kitu gani. Mnaendesha gari kubwa, mnaenda kununua wakili, mnaenda kuhongana kotini kusimamisha hii mradi.
President Ruto has vowed to deal firmly with cases of corruption, especially in judiciary, to make sure decisions rendered are for the common good of the country.
Mambo ya uongozi, sisi tuko tayari, na mimi niko tayari kutoa uongozi ambayo itapeleka Kenya mbele. Na niko tayari tena, namba ya pili, kupigana na wafisadi na wakora na matapeli. Hawa watu wote ambao wamezoea kwenda kotini, zuia hii, enda kotini, zuia hii, na wanazuia kwa mambo ya ubinafsi. Unajua kuna watu wanataka kuwa wenyewe ndio wanajenga nyumba, wanapanga watu walipe rent. Ndio wametupeleka kotini, wanasema ati tukijenga hii nyumba ati wale watu wa kulipa rent watakosekana kwa sababu watu watakuja kuishi hapa, walipe nyumba ikue yake. Sasa wewe, kwani wewe umeundwa kulipa rent kwa nyumba ya mtu?
Henry Tendanyula, Lookuptv.
Now, different stakeholders have continued to slam President William Ruto regarding his sentiments on the judiciary. Lawyer Omwanza Ombati yesterday termed President William Ruto's sentiments as a threat to the independence of the judiciary, while calling on the head of state to follow the provisions of Section 31 of the Judicial Service Provisions Act to, of course, address his concerns.
We respect, we will protect the independence of the judiciary. What we will not allow is judicial tyranny and judicial impunity. That we will not allow. That will not happen.
Those were the sentiments of President William Ruto earlier this month, a statement that raised eyebrows among various stakeholders across different sectors. City lawyer Omwanza Ombati today joined the bandwagon in coming to the judiciary's defense, noting that the same judiciary came to President William Ruto's rescue during the presidential election petition, while terming the head of state's sentiments as a threat to an independent arm of government.
I'm compelled to remind the president of his past stance, wherein he championed the cause of judicial independence. It is indeed perplexing to witness such a drastic shift in his perspective, now that he holds the highest office in the land. Let us not forget that it was this very independent judiciary that upheld the legitimacy of his election when it was challenged. These attacks are not only alarming but pose a serious and grave threat to the very foundations of our democracy and the rule of law.
Ombati, who is vying for the post of LSK's male representative in the Judicial Service Commission, has however called on the president to follow the due procedure in addressing his concerns.
I stand firmly in support of the rule of law and the independence of the judiciary. If the president has concerns regarding corruption within the judiciary, they must be addressed through the appropriate channels. The president should adhere to the provisions of Section 31 of the Judicial Service Act, which provides for the legitimate process of removing a judge or judges who are in office.
This comes as the president continues his sustained attacks on the judiciary in regards to the affordable housing program, insisting that he will not entertain anyone planning to derail his development agenda.
Iwezekani ya kwamba ati watu wachache, wawili watatu, wameenda kotini, wakahongana kotini, mpango hiyo ikasimamishwa.
Keitany, Lookuptv.
Moving forward, 10 bouncers from Kettle House Bar and Grill in Nairobi were yesterday charged with assault and selling shisha against the law. The 10, who appeared before Magistrate Gilbert Shikwe, pleaded not guilty and were granted a cash bail of 30,000 each. The 10, jointly with others, are alleged to have assaulted journalists and a team of Nakada officers, thereby causing bodily harm.
One by one, they walked into the corridors of justice to answer to their crimes. 10 of them, bouncers, guards, and employees of City Restaurant's Kettle House, taking the walk of shame. The 10 and others not in court were charged with assault and illegal sale of shisha, to which they denied the charges.
5th day of January 2024, jointly with others not before the court, being security guards of Kettle House Bar and Grill, located along Mudagari Road within Nairobi County, he jointly assaulted one Boniface Okendo Otieno, a Standard Media Group journalist who was among a team of Nakada enforcement, therefore occasioning him actual bodily harm. Is it true or not, Albanus Hussein? So, Peter, you have been charged with the offense of selling of shisha, particulars of that, along Mudagari Road within Nairobi County. You are found selling 30 shisha bongs in contravention of the said act. Is it true or not, Sospita?
Magistrate Gilbert Shikwe granted each of them a cash bail of 30,000 shillings each and ordered a warrant of arrest for 10 other suspects who failed to appear before the court to take a plea.
It's essentially one transaction. Also note the fact that they've been out on a police bail of 10,000 shillings and they've presented themselves in court and the nature of their work. So for the first to the 10th accused, they'll be released on a bond of 100,000 shillings, with surety similar amount, or an alternative of cash bail of 30,000 shillings each, with 2 contact persons each. For the 12th accused person, Sospita, is released on a cash bail of 10,000 shillings with 2 contact persons. This case is allocated to court number 11 for hearing and determination. The matter shall be mentioned before that court on the 24th of January 2024 for pretrial directions.
Mr. President.
On January 5th, 2 journalists, police officers and a team from Nakada suffered bodily harm after the security guards at the restaurant allegedly stabbed them with a knife. The team had raided the Kilimani joint to cover the sale of the outlawed shisha when they encountered the assault. The journalists included Jen Kibira of KBC, Lawrence Tikolo of Citizen TV, Boniface Okendo and Jackson Kibet of Standard Media, and Boniface Bugita of Nation. The matter will be mentioned on January 24th, 2024. Brian Amwai, Lookuptv, Nairobi.
Well, this comes as well even as the government, in conjunction with PSRA, have launched, of course, vetting and certifying of bouncers and other security or private security officers in the country. That particular sensitization forum was launched or held yesterday here in the capital, Nairobi. Now, leaders from Kisii County have given Interior Cabinet Secretary Professor Kindiki an ultimatum of 72 hours to hold South Mugirango Member of Parliament Sylvanus Osoro accountable for the chaos witnessed during the meeting held by Governor Simba Arati in Nyakembene Market, Boikanga Ward, which left several people injured as a result of gunshots fired by people who disrupted the event. The event that was meant to disburse bursaries to the locals. Now, according to area residents, they blamed security agencies in the area for cases of insecurity as they have accused them of abetting crime.
This was the scenes moments later at Nyakembene Market in Kisii County on Monday during a meeting organized by Governor Simba Arati. Governor Arati is said to have organized the meeting to disburse bursaries to the locals. However, the meeting turned chaotic after armed people stormed the meeting firing gunshots to the crowd which had gathered to receive bursaries. It is for this reason that leaders from the area have given Interior Cabinet Secretary Kindiki 72 hours to hold the MP Sylvanus Osoro accountable for the incident which left several people injured.
Mimi langu ningependa kuhimiza hivi. Tunampa serikali ambaye bwana Kindiki ambaye ni waziri wa usalama wa ndani. Tumempa masaa 72. Asiposhika Osoro na aeleze ni kwa nini walikuwa wanatoa vitoa majonzi pale, wanarusha risasi ovyo ovyo, na kule kulikuwa na watoto ambao walikuwa wamekimbia pale waweze kupata mfadhili wa fedha ili waweze kuenda shule.
During the meeting, certain civilians are said to have jumped out of Osoro's convoy, wielding AK-47 rifles, hurled tear gas canisters, and started shooting at the crowd.
Karibu round safari 3 Osoro analeta hapa kashfa Kisii. Kisii ni mahali tunapenda amani. Alafu amewapa vijana wako kwenye mtandao, kazi yao ni kurusha maneno. Yale maneno na matusi ambayo wanarusha, sisi tunayaona na tunawajua.
According to the leaders, security agencies in the area have also been blamed for collaborating with unknown individuals who have been said to have endangered lives of the locals.
The problem we have as a county is the issues of insecurity. Now, the people who are going to investigate this incident are security people, and they were the main actors yesterday. The DCR are eating together with criminals. When you go to the court of law, they share the route, and they are left free.
Beatrice Lavonga, Lookuptv.
On to matters education now, and confusion has gripped the family of a 14-year-old girl who topped in last year's KCPE examinations at Nyalgunga Primary School in Alego Usonga sub-county after she got Form 1 placement in a boys' school. When she garnered 389 marks and qualified to join a national school, Gloria Odhiambo Owino, together with her family members, were filled with joy, which was, however, short-lived when she went to download her calling letter, only to realize that she had been placed in a boys' school.
As she carries out house chores, helping her parents before her dream to join high school takes shape, her future in academics hangs by a thread, something that is making this young lady afraid of what her future has in store for her. She sat for KCPE exams and passed with flying colors, making her ripe for a spot in a girls' national school. However, 14-year-old Gloria Odhiambo finds herself in a complex web of confusion following her placement to a boys' school, Lenana National School.
KCPE results ziliporudi nilipata nilikuwa na 389. Alafu kwenda kudownload calling letter ni ndio calling letter nilipata. Na sikuwa najua ni shule ya boys. Juu hapo walikuwa wameandika Lenana School. Sasa kudownload mwenye nilikuja kuangalia uniform nikaona kama requirements ni za boys. Walikuwa nataka trouser.
Piga simu kwa hiyo shule. Alafu wakushika hata simu. Kwa maana nilifikiria ati wakipiga tunazungumza na hawa, lakini wako.
Her hopes are now hanging in the balance as they wait for correcting their anomaly takes its sweet time.
From receiving calling letter when you download, akona calling letter ingine nishai receive. In future, I would like to be a lecturer because I would like to improve my parents' living standard. Niwatoe hapa center, nione vile tunaweza jenga in future, tukue na place to call home.
This confusion adds to the confusion after the release of KCPE exams exposing the Education Ministry's negligence. Gloria's secondary education also hangs in the balance due to tough economic times and lack of funds.
One opportunity ningependa niende Kisumu Girls na ni venye najua tu wazazi hawezi afford. Sasa walisema wanaweza nipeleka shule nyingine hapo karibu inaitwa Ulafu. Second nisomee huko due to lack of school fees. Yeah. Mimi ningependa tu niombe wa Kenya na well wishers wenye wanaweza nisaidia kulipa karo ya shule, ni join na boarding school. Nisingependa kuenda kwa hizi shule za day. Nilikuwa na work hard, nimesomea primary day school, nikaona let me work hard alafu nipate marks mzuri aweze kupata chance ya kunifundisha secondary.
Staying with matters education, and police in Machakos County have begun investigations into the murder of a Machakos University student on Tuesday night. Now, according to the Machakos Sub-County OCPD-1 Emmanuel Okanda, the girl, a second-year student at Machakos University, was found dead by police with a body covered in blood. The victim's body was taken to the Machakos Level 5 morgue. Now, 2 suspects are being held by the police while DCI officers probe the murder.
According to OCPD Machakos Sub-County Emmanuel Okanda, the second-year student was found dead by the officers, blood oozing from her facial body parts.
The scene was visited and it was established that at Diaspora Rentals, a second-year university student who is undertaking Bachelor's of Education.
The body of the deceased was taken to Machakos Level 5 Hospital. Questions arising to unleash the motive at the rear of the murder.
Yesterday, the 9th January 2024, in the wee hours of the morning, police officers at Machakos Police Station got information of a murder incident that had happened at Kataloni, which is about 4 kilometers south of Machakos Police Station.
2 suspects, inclusive of the deceased lover, are still in police custody as investigation continues in combined efforts with DCI officials from the county.
Further investigations are ongoing to establish the real cause of murder. The body of the said student has been taken to Machakos Level 5 Hospital for preservation and post-mortem.
However, journalists were denied access to hear one of the suspects while leaving upon request to get more insights on the crime.
So far, we have 2 male still students at the said university who are in custody, assisting the police with further investigations.
Ruga Ival, Lookuptv.
On to matters of security now, and the government now says security in Laikipia has been beefed up and cases of animal theft are reduced in the region. Speaking during the launch of affordable housing program in Laikipia County, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua said the government will intensify beefing up security to other affected regions.
Mheshimiwa Rais, tunashukuru sana hapa katika Laikipia. Ulipouliza kura katika kaunti hii, ulitoa ahadi ya kwamba ukichaguliwa kama rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya, utaangalia mambo ya usalama ambayo ilikuwa imetatiza watu ya Laikipia County kwa muda mrefu. Watu walikuwa wanauawa kama kuku, ng'ombe zinaibiwa, wamama wanaangaishwa, na rais, tunashukuru ya kwamba serikali yako imefanya mipango kababe na usalama umeimarika ya kutosha katika kaunti hii, isipokuwa 1 or 2 isolated incidents, na tunajivunia sana ya kwamba tumelegesha usalama katika Laikipia. And I want to congratulate the county security and intelligence team and the county commissioner. Muendelee kulida watu ya Laikipia ndio wapate nafasi ya kufanya kazi bila kuhangaishwa.
Now that particular story takes us to a fast breather. We'll be back in a moment. Don't go away.
Tere, mambo ni mawili, kufikisha, kumwaga na kurudi. Kulala ni mwaka mpya.
Muka we mse. Nini mbaya? Wewe kwani wani vile dereva anaendesha gari vibaya, lazima tususe. Anaendesha gari na kwa simu the whole time, hata angalia barabara. Wewe dereva wewe, mwaka iliyopita peke yake watu zaidi ya 3,000 walipoteza maisha yao barabarani kwa sababu ya tabia kama hizo. Hautatuangamiza tukiona.
Naomba msamaha, nitampeleka vizuri.
Si wameomba msamaha. Sasa tuende tusafiri kwa mwendo wa aste.
Dere Smart hufikisha abiria salama. Ujumbe huu umeletwa kwako na NTSA kwa ushirikiano na European Union.
What about mambo fantastic if not scholastic? Chota kuchota na Hatia Supermarket imerudi. Ukifanya tu shopping ya shilingi 1,000, wewe unaingia kwa promotion ya chota kuchota na Hatia Supermarket. Watu wanaendelea kushinda ndani ya Hatia Supermarket.
It's yangu.
What tata? Kitoko. Hey, wewe na umeshika
nini? Yote. Hansa. Wamenalala.
Karibu ndani ya Hatia Supermarket uweze kuchota kwa wingi kabisa. Watu wanasema nini? Nakwambia kwamba chota kuchota. Unangoja nini?
Magari 7 za kushindaniwa, TV, free, microwave, shopping vouchers, school fees vouchers, instant prizes na zawadi zingine kemkem. Chota kuchota imethaminiwa na Hetia's Oven Fresh Bakery, Gigabyte, Mount Kenya Milk, Clover's Food Products, Velvex, Magic Drink, Pwani Oil, Arenco, Fruit Juice, Masterchef, Toilex, Coolsip, Mika, Wash Ultra, Philos, Prestol, Nivea, My Choice, Ushindi, Fresh Fry, Arimis Jelly, Cabernet Water, Dettol, Ketepa, Meta, Glucose, Coca-Cola, Rosy Tissue, Big Giant, Elbins, Unilever, Fresh, Unga wa Dola, Blue Band na Pasta Star. Shindano la chota kuchota linaanza tarehe 1 Disemba hadi tarehe 10 Februari mwaka 2024.
Hatia Supermarket, a world of choice.
Aha, kumekucha na kila kukicha tunasema ni wakati wa kazi. Hapa kazi tu.
Hapa kazi tu yo yo.
niko always on the move kuhakikisha kwamba ninamulika biashara gani, ni nini kinaendelea, ni magari, ni biashara ya matunda, ni biashara ya soko, unafanya nini, uko wapi? Ndio hapa kazi tu, tuweze kumulika biashara yako.
Hapa kazi tu yo yo.
Kila Ijumaa inapofika saa 1:30 jioni, ama ile wanasema 7:30 PM kwa kimombo,
Hapa kazi.
tutakuwa hapa kazi tu, tunachapa kazi tu na General Fido, ama ukipenda Theodore.
Hapa kazi.
Hi, and welcome to Tujenge Home. Your #1 show when it comes to all things architecture, real estate, property development, interior design. You get it right here on Tujenge Home. When the food is ready.
You want to serve them?
Dinner is served. Let's go. Let's go.
Kipindi ni ukulima ni mali na manjoro. Kumbuka hapa ndipo unajifunza mambo mengi kuhusu ukulima. Kilimo ni uti wa mgongo wa nchi. Na ukiwa na njoro unajifunza. Kumbuka, angalia mwenyewe. Tunakuambia ukitaka kujua tips za ukulima, ungana na sisi kwenye Lookuptv. Every Sunday unatukuta pale saa 10, tunakuonesha kuhusu ukulima. Ukulima wa mimea, ukulima wa ng'ombe, ukulima wa kuku, ukulima wa mbuzi na yote ambayo yanahusiana na ukulima. Kumbuka nini? Kipindi ni ukulima ni mali.
Infinity Industrial Park is one of the largest private industrial parks located along Eastern Bypass, Nairobi, which provides modern infrastructure for smooth operations for industries and business enterprises. Infinity Industrial Park offers world-class amenities and facilities with wide roads, a police station, a power substation, fire station, public transport stage, hospital, and shopping mall. In addition, Infinity Industrial Park also offers CCTV cameras, 24-hour private armed security patrol, sewer, water, fiber optic cable, and 3-phase power connection. Added to public utility, canteen, and dining areas. Sail on the golden opportunity to invest in Infinity Industrial Park, fully serviced warehouses at a special price of 3,569 Kenyan shillings per square foot. For more inquiries, visit our website infinityindustrialpark.com.
Are you a junior secondary school, a college, a TVET institution or a university and you want to advertise your intake? Book now and advertise with us today on both Lookuptv and all our digital platforms. Call us today or email us on sales@lookuptv.co.ke.
Well, welcome back to the Morning Drift here on Lookuptv. Now, we all always talk about life insurance and its different policies and how it can help you as a person. Whether life insurance can be used or to, of course, build savings and all that, and there are different policies in place when you want to, of course, take cover or insure your life as a person. This particular morning, we'll be listening in as Simba Elijah Charles Kiagi talks to one Benedicta McKenna on matters life insurance, the policies revolving around it. Like I said, whether you can as well, of course, use life insurance to build your savings. An interesting conversation that you wouldn't want to miss. Let's listen in.
So